This video describes the assembly of the motor axis or the motor assembly. We will start again with the overview of the rig. So in the last video, I explained you how to prepare the back of your rig for the motor assembly and the belt axis assembly that will follow now. To quickly show again the motor axis assembly, this is how it looks like on the rig. So you will see where this goes. You will see that this KP001 pillow block will attach to the central profile here, and you will also see that there is a second KP001 pillow block that attaches to the 2020 profile here that functions as an additional anchor point. You will also see that the servo motor has a very obvious motor mount that is attached below the rig here. If you have a back profile that is not 4080 but 4120 or 4160, there is another motor mount specifically for those kind of profiles. So don't worry, you should be covered whatever rig frame you have. So now let's go into the details how this motor axis assembly is stitched together. For this, we will switch the view and we will go to the motor axis assembly itself. And then we will explode the view to give you basically a better view on this. Now you see every single part in the assembly, which is very convenient. What you directly see is that it's not overly complicated. So it's pretty straightforward to build, I would say. Especially after this video, I think you should be well set. So what I just explained is that the servo motor here, so the 90ST in this particular case, is fixed to the aluminium profile, so to your rig frame with this motor mount. You see that it's just a little step, which then slots in this part of the servo motor and just basically reduces the stress on the other motor mount, which is this part that goes in the front. But basically, this second motor mount here that I selected now just prevents that you have a very bad leverage here on the back part of the servo motor. These motors they weigh quite a lot, so more than a kilogram. So you have to make sure that they are properly secured. So for this purpose, I designed two different motor mounts. The first one that does the majority of the job, and then this second smaller one here that just secures everything additionally. Let's talk about the first motor mount. So here you will see that this is also a 3D printed part, like the second motor mount. It's pretty easy to print. Print in place, and you just slide it on the front part of your servo motor. It should fit perfectly, and then you have 4 screws, and this one, this one, this one, and then there's another one here, that you just insert in these holes here that are in the servo motor. They then go also through the 4 holes in the motor mount, and then on the other side you will have 4 nuts to secure everything in place. What you then need is 2 additional screws, and they are a bit hidden here. So this is the screw 1, this is the screw 2. These 2 screws are used to screw the whole assembly, so this means the motor mount plus the attached servo motor to the back of your profile. The spacings of those 2 screws is exactly 4 centimeters. So this means they can be screwed in place in the 2 grooves of a 4080 profile. What you also see is that you have to insert the screws from the front. and then plug them into these openings here in the motor mount. The only problem you will then have is how to screw them really down. And for this, we have two additional holes here in the front of the motor mount. This gives you the possibility to go in with the long Allen key. So really from the front hole here, just to the back, to securely fasten these two bolts. You obviously will need, again, some slot nuts as an anchor point in the groove of your back profile. So this describes how to mount the two different servo mounts to your servo motor and how to attach this to the back of your profile. What we didn't talk about is the rest of the assembly. So how is this composed of? Your servo motor has a drive shaft. This is this front part here, where you will have the rotation that at the end powers the belt tensioner. What we need in this belt tensioner assembly is a pulley. That's this part here. This pulley has teeth, and you will have also a pulley in the belt axis assembly, which then at the end gives you a gear ratio of 1 to 2. The 1 to 2 gear ratio has the advantage that you trade RPM for more torque. So in this particular case, you reduce the RPM by 50%, but you increase the torque by twofold. The problem with these pulleys is that you have to fix the pulley on a drive shaft. So that's our drive shaft here. But we have to now fix this 3D printed pulley on the drive shaft. For this, we are also using a coupler. And as you can see here, we are only using the halves of the coupler. So you only have to order one per side. And these couplers are then inserted into the 3D printed piece. And this whole part you can then slide along this drive shaft, and you will have then something that you can fix on the drive shaft, because these coupling halves, they have screws. So this is one, and that's the other one. And by securing the screw, you will apply pressure in this coupling half onto the drive shaft, and then they are very securely fixed on the drive shaft. What is not done so far is to connect this drive shaft with the motor shaft. This is done with this coupler here. This coupler works exactly the same, so you will have again two different coupling halves. In this particular case, you don't have to tear them apart. You can leave it as it is delivered. The red part that you see here in the middle, this is called spider. Please leave it in there. It has an important function. But like the coupler here that we took apart and removed the spider, for this coupler that we don't take apart, there are two screws. And these two screws you can again use to fix the coupler on this drive shaft and on the motor shaft. Okay, what's left to do is to take care of the pillow blocks. We have two of them. These are KP001 pillow blocks. So this one and this one. They are pretty standard pillow blocks that you can buy basically everywhere. They are made for 12 millimeter shafts. So this shaft that you see here is 12 millimeter. Important is now that these pillow blocks are also fixed on the drive shaft. That's possible because they have worm screws. The screw is now not modeled, but you will have two little holes here. You can see them. And these two little holes have tiny, tiny screws, black screws, that you can tighten with a tiny Allen key. And this secures then the pillow block on the drive shaft, so they will not be able to move laterally anymore. What you also will see is that you have to secure the KP001 pillar block on an aluminium profile. Now we'll quickly go back to the assembly. So here you can now see the motor axis that is fixed to the back of the profile. And here you see now how everything is stitched together. And what you also see is that this KP001 pillar block is secured with those two screws. And you also have the spacer here. If you go back to the exploded view, this spacer here is very important because it ensures that the distance from the profile to the axis of the drive shaft is how it should be. So that's important that you use these spacers. What else is there to say? Make sure that when you assemble everything, that you really make sure that there is no space between the different parts. So you can really move this part of the coupler directly to this KP001 pillar block without leaving any space in between. And this applies for everything you are doing here with the motor axis. So the whole assembly is designed in a way that spaces are omitted, because space means usually tolerance, but we don't need a tolerance here. So then it means it's a waste of space. All the spaces are removed. One last part is the drive cover. This is again a 3D printed piece, and you see that it has two screws, one at the top and one at the bottom. If you now go back to how the motor axis is attached to the back of your rig, then you will see that the drive shaft, the drive cover is now just, you can just slide it over the motor mount. And then the central profiles are important because on top of the central profile, one screw will securely attach the drive shaft, the drive cover to these central profiles, and then on the bottom you will have another screw. And these screws, they go into the 2020 profile, so you have to make sure, like written in the shopping list, that these holes in the 2020 profile, they are threaded. You will also notice that the placement of the central profile is important because the drive cover dictates where the central profile has to go. So I'm talking about the vertical placement here. You will see that the bottom end of the central profile is not on the same height like your 4080 profile, so it's a bit lower. And that's on purpose and just dictated by the design. So just play around with it. You will, I think, notice pretty quickly what I mean. Now we go back to the exploded view, and I think that's it. This should give you now a nice overview how to assemble the motor axis.